Well, welcome back, my friends, all to another rousing rendition of Choir Boys Outdoors, a Buck 694 Alpha Hunter rendition. All the buckaroos are not going to be happy with this one. Listen, some months back, Matthew Jensen, who is one of the world's greatest sword YouTubers, said, "Scab, would you like to check out a couple of my knives? I've got one that I used to EDC. That's the one we're going to show today. And then another dagger, I believe it's Dark Sword Armory." I said, "Sure, man." And I was pretty fired up because I was thinking certainly that Matthew's EDC was going to be some kind of badass Japanese, maybe waki or short sword or something. And boy, was I wrong. We got the Buck 694 Alpha. Now listen, let me just say this. I don't care if you like Buck or you don't. This is not a bashing video. We give every knife a fair shake. And what I mean by that is this. We put it through the same demonstrations. I've done it with gas station knives. I've done it with expensive knives. We're taking a good look right here. This is probably the worst handle I have ever seen on a knife. But, and I've got to say that if you're new here, my channel is, for the most part, very positive, and we're not going to focus on negative here. Like I said, it's not to bash. The truth is, see that jimping, that's aggressive as shit. Here's the thing. What I wanted to do, Matthew did carry this for a couple of years, I believe. Sent it to me. I put a serviceable working edge on it. It came in, you could tell that he used it. It was scratched up. It was used, and that I respect more than anything. There are a few things that I like about the knife. It's lightweight, it's compact, and it's a knife. Outside of that, but let's talk about it. This is the Buck 694 Alpha Hunter in 420 HC. Now, this particular model is discontinued. However, I do believe they make some different variants or maybe something in the same family. The knives this size that I saw that are in that 420 HC are in that $70 to $80 range. If you jump up into the S35 VN, I think it goes up to 150 or 160. It is made in the USA. I do like that. It is a drop point. It has a rubber handle. That's the way they described it, and we're going to talk about the handle. I would have liked to seen them spend the extra 50 cents and covered the entire tang, but they didn't, and that's all right. The blade stock is 1/8 inch thick. The overall length is 8.5. The blade length is 3 3/4 with a cutting edge of 3.5. So you got a very, very serviceable blade. And let me just say this. I think you're contractually obligated anytime that you do a buck knife to mention that Paul Boss did the heat treat. I mean, people, my grandsons who don't know anything about knives know what a Paul Boss heat treat is, because God almighty, if you don't say it, the buckaroos come unglued. Blade length's 3 3/4, the cutting edge is 3.5. The handle length is 4.5 inches. Now that is simply the rubber handle scales. It's a little longer than that, but that's the rubber scales. The inner grip is 4 1/8. The handle thickness is 3/4 inch. So just about any hand in the world, and I would think Matthew probably has extra large hands. He's a taller fellow. I would think he probably has X or double X hands. Any hand in the world could probably grip this knife. The weight is 7.2 ounces. It comes with a nylon sheath. Y'all know the deals on those nylon sheaths, but I will say this for the sheath. The belt loop is one of those that rides to the top of the sheath. I have T-Rex arms, so for me it rides high, and I like that. Some people they may not, but it does come with a sheath. Black rubber handles. Now here's the thing. Here's the truth. I am really, really intrigued. Do I like the knife? No. But I love the fact that Matthew carried it. I love the fact that he used it. And if you are not subscribed to Matthew, you're missing out. Seriously. He breaks swords, but he has knife or sword companies send him swords, and he tests them for them as well as his own doing. And he has a formula in his system. He's got a really, really good channel. Check him out. Also, when Blade Talk with Scab and Joe was first starting, Matthew was good enough to come on and be a guest with us, and we are forever appreciative. And I'm hoping to do a live with him after the videos of the dagger and this knife comes out, because I'd like to pick his brain. My main problem with this knife is this. It's a protruding tang. The handle scales do not cover it, and you've got probably anywhere from an 1/8 to 3/16 inches, depending where you're at, on the handle sticking out. What I wanted to do, I cut all kind of stuff. Now, I do that anyway. It's not to show if the knife can cut or not. That's part of it. But the other part is to get as many different grips as I could. I wanted to see kind of if I could get in the designer's head what he was thinking. I have come to the conclusion that this is a knife that was made for a gloved hand. The last 3 minutes of this video, I use a glove. It's a totally different feel. It really is. It honestly is. And we're just going to do a lot of different things that I normally do in videos. The truth is, here's the truth. Very, very serviceable blade. Compact knife that you could use anywhere. Would I carry it? No. Could I carry it? Yes. There's a difference, okay? As someone who's gotten their hands broke several times from being a dumbass over my life, having some arthritis, being 52 years of age, and having worked some kind of physical labor job for 35 years, handles are very important to me. I have tougher hands, I really do. In some spots, they're dead hands. But I am picky about my handles. So, I don't want this to be a bashing, bitching thing. I really don't. Because the truth is, somebody out there loves the knife or they wouldn't have made it. Matthew carried it for a couple of years, and like I said, I'd like to pick his brain. This, I wanted to stab some tire tread for a couple of reasons. One is to test the grip. That rubber handle, great grip. Now, I did wrap a lanyard around because I have zero desire to slide my hand down it and cut myself, but the grip was very nice. It was about 90-something degrees today, 100% humidity, real feel heat of about 105. So there was sweat, there was all that. Great grip. The problem is the jimping. Right there where my thumb goes and right there at the base where I'm showing you right there is super aggressive. That kind of led me to believe this was probably made for a gloved hand. While I didn't have any slip and there wasn't a lot of shock, you do feel every second of holding this knife. I have to say that. What intrigues me about the knife, though, is Matthew lives up north in a cold weather state. So I'm curious to pick his brain. How did it feel during cold weather, or did you always wear a glove? Answer that in the comments, Matthew, because I'm telling you, guys, for those of you who own this knife, and if you own it and love it, put it in the comments. And again, know that I'm not being an ass. For the most part, we're a very, very positive channel. I'm going to give every knife a fair shake. I think you have to. So again, we're doing all kind of different cuts. We did some where you might mimic a little caping or mimic a little skinning or mimic a little this or that, just to get a feel for the knife. I've used it over this past week a good bit. I really have. Again, while it's not something I would carry, I always want to be somewhat proficient with any knife. That's my goal, to challenge myself to learn how to use any knife in any situation, because the best knife for the job a lot of times is the one you have in hand. If you're in an emergency situation, you may not always have a pick of the litter. From that standpoint, I got a really good feel for the knife. And like I said, you've got the 420HC. Buck does a great job with that. The Paul Boss Heat Treat. Buck does a great job with that. Overall consistency with the knife, make great job with that. I will say this, I didn't go very hard on the batoning. This is someone else's knife. I'm not here to break it, abuse it, or beat it up. The other side of that is Buck is known to put a hollow ground on a lot of knives. And after the last one that we about exploded, I just thought, you know what, this isn't my knife. It does mean something to somebody. but I'd wanted to do a little light batoning. And again, while I was very cognizant of where my hand was at all times, wasn't a lot of shock, wasn't a lot of any of that. With a glove on, especially this type of glove, it's a totally different feel. Totally different. The problem is I live in Florida where it's hot as balls 11 months out of the year, and I don't wear gloves. So that's the thing. I used the very last segment, and we'll be doing our causes. So before we get there, I wanted to say I used the jimping, the aggressive jimping. It was able to strike a ferrocenium rod. Man, it threw sparks like a flamethrower. And again, what I wanted to do, and I feel like I accomplished this, was cut a lot of different materials with a lot of different grips. I wasn't worried about making it razor sharp or anything like that. A lot of my buck knives are super sharp, and I'll hone this up before I send it back to Matthew. Overall thoughts: a little extra money, they could have covered that entire tang up, and you would have had something very, very comfortable to work with. I really believe that. Would I carry it? No. But it's a comfort thing. It's not a bashing thing. The blade is conducive to do a lot of work, and it did. But I've said this a million times. If it hurts to hold, you're not going to carry it. I am thankful, Matthew. Thank you for sending it, man. I really am intrigued, and I'm really excited to have a conversation with you about the knife and pick your brain on it. Guys, that being said, we got to do this part. There was a time in this country where 22 veterans a day took their own lives. Now, we're headed into the weekend. The number's going to be higher. It's going to be up near 30. That's why here on this channel, we focus on the number 0. Anything over 0 is simply unacceptable. Vets, we love you. Man, you have a place here. Guys, I back the blue. I don't ask anybody else to. I have my reasons. And if you ever take a real good look at me, you won't use the whole back the blue till it happens to you. It's happened to me more than it'll happen to you. I have my reasons, and we can agree to disagree, or we don't have to. You don't have to watch the channel. It's just, I don't shove it down your throat, but it is something I believe in. Finally, if you are an addict, never quit quitting. Well, guys, Matthew, I appreciate you, brother. Love y'all. Let's have a good weekend. I'm Scab. You're not. The Buck. I'm gone, son.